After golf stretches, these are important to do before bed. So after you've played the game, you've gone home, done whatever you need to do, and then before bed, do these stretches just to keep your body loose and mobile so you don't go to sleep in a tight position. We're going to start with back of the leg stretch. This is down on the floor on a mat. You'll be kneeling. So I'm going to move back a little bit. You're going to start with one leg in front. The other leg is kneeling. Now, I'm on a mat. If that still isn't enough cushion, put a pillow or another towel to make sure that back knee is comfortable. My front toes are pulled up, fingertips on the floor, and what I want you to try and do is lengthen your spine long and flat. I like to think almost as flat as an ironing board. So you're not rounding, but lengthening. Fingertips can be on the floor. Now, if this is impossible to get into, hamstrings are just too tight, you can put some blocks to balance yourself so you don't have to go down so far. And then you would do the other side the same thing. And then after you've done the other side, you shift, pulling that foot back just a little bit, into a bent front knee. And if you need to slide that back knee away from you a little bit, you can. But what you're trying to stretch now is the front of the hip and the hip flexor. So make sure your back glute muscle is engaged. You're pushing the hip forward and finding length through your spine. We don't want to just collapse into your front knee. So you should feel a little space between your chest and the front knee. And weight is equal on that front foot. So not all in the heel, not all in the toes. Again, if you need blocks, you can put blocks, or you can put your hands up to the knee. And then you do that the same thing on the other side. And then into the floor. Lying down, you're going to interlace your hands behind your head, and you're going to take your feet wider than the mat. And I've got my knees at a 90-degree angle, so not too close, not too far away. And you're going to let your hips twist. So letting the elbows, shoulders relax. Drop the knees over to the right and twist. Now, sometimes this can feel really tight on that top leg. It's important you keep that glute muscle a little active to help support you, to give that stretch. If it's bothering that knee, don't push the knee down so much. Let it come up. Then once it eases, you can start to relax it down. When you change sides, take a breath in. Exhale, you're going to pull your rib cage using your core muscles to change over. Be careful that you don't just move from the hips. If you have a low back tenderness or soreness, that can aggravate it more. So use your core muscles, pull the rib cage back, then the rib pulls the hip, and then the hip pulls the knee. And you do the same to the other side. If you need to adjust a little bit, you can. Try and relax that shoulder and elbow. And just feel that opening up through the front of the hip, through the front of the thigh. Coming back up, I'm going to grab a block for this next one. And you're going to place the block between the legs lengthwise. Feet and knees are the same distance apart. Hands interlace. And now this time we're doing a spine twist. So you're going to tip over onto the right hip and right knee. Now what you're trying to do is keep the block and the knees level. My top foot is not touching anything. It's lifted off the floor. Now where I'm stretching is from the elbow through the shoulder and chest, through the spine. My hips are trying to almost stack on top of each other. Same thing, when you exhale, use your core muscles to pull the rib cage, which pulls the hip, which pulls the knee and the block back. And then onto the other side, tipping over onto the left hip, left thigh, right foot will be lifted. And I'm trying to reach that elbow and shoulder, keeping the knees and the hips stacked. Exhale to pull the rib cage, pulls the hips, pulls the knees. I'm going to take that block away now. I'm going to turn. And we're going to go into child's pose. Now, my knees let me sit all the way down and have the knees open. If this bothers your knees, take that block and sit on top of it so your knees don't get any pressure. But I don't need it, so I'm going to put it away. And I'm going to slide my hands forward and stretch. Now, my hands are about shoulder distance apart. If you feel any pinching in the top of the shoulder, you can take the hands wider. And if that doesn't feel any pinching, then you can take them back into shoulder distance. You're trying to let your hips sink as close to your heels or the block, depending what you have. And just try and relax into that stretch. Feel the length through the body. We're going to take it into a lat stretch. So I'm going to take my left hand over on top of my right. And then I'm going to turn my head and look underneath my right arm to stretch behind my left lat. Now again, if you feel any pinching in the shoulder, you just take it a little less. It doesn't have to go on top of the other hand. But it's important that you turn the eyes and look underneath that right arm. And then do the same to the other side. Right hand now is going to go on top of the left hand. And turn the head, look underneath left arm. Again, I'm trying to let my hips sink down towards my heels. If that bothers the shoulder, loosen it up a little bit. Take the hand away. And then coming back to center. And then just slowly sliding the hands back to come up. Last one has a foam roller. I'm going to take the foam roller across my mat. I'm going to turn. And we're lining the foam roller up, not in your low back, in your upper back. So it's just underneath my shoulder blades. I'm going to take my hands interlaced behind my head. And I have my hands towards the bottom part of my head near my neck. If you have it too high at the top, sometimes that can pull your head in a funny direction. So make sure they're cupping towards the bottom part of your head near your neck. And then I'm slowly going to extend back. Now the foam roller might move a little bit. That's okay. What you're trying to do is keep, to start, elbows together to let your upper back, your thoracic spine, get an extension so it's opening. Let the ribs open up. Don't try and pull the ribs together. And then from here, I'm going to move down just an inch towards my feet, open the elbows, stretch the chest. So again, this is a lot of extension and stretching in a really tight part of our spine. It might feel difficult to breathe. If that's the case, don't go as far, lift up a little bit higher. Make sure you can breathe slowly, not quickly, and then let gravity slowly extend back over. And then the very last one with the foam roller, you're going to turn the foam roller lengthwise, and you're going to sit up on top, and you're going to slowly roll down to the length of your spine. Make sure your head is supported. If you feel like your head and chin are tipping up, take a towel or a pillow underneath so you can lengthen the back of your neck. Feet are balancing me about hip distance or just a little wider than hip distance and about 90 degrees in the knees. We're going to take the arms up to what we call the goalpost position and just let your stretch come through the front of the chest, relaxing the arms. Again, let gravity help stretch you here. Don't try and push and really pull, just try and relax into it. Be aware that your elbows and hands aren't at very drastic positions. Try and keep them fairly level, as if they were flat against a wall. And what's nice from there is if that feels comfortable once you've eased into it, is to slowly lift up a few inches and then bring it back. And if that still feels comfortable, you can go all the way up, hook the thumbs, and just slowly let the hands sink down. If that bothers your shoulders, don't go into it. stay in the goalpost position. To come out of here can be pretty hard, so I like to say choose a side you're going to roll to, go on to that side, shift off, and come on up. And those are your after golf stretches.